Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're heading into some pretty strange territory, a place where the line between what we know and what we don't gets really, really thin. We're told some stories. They don't really need proof, just courage to tell them, and you'll find courage is definitely a big part of what we're looking at today.
Absolutely. We're digging into Lights in the Darkness. It's this collection, 15 accounts presented as true, from a group called Unidad ALFA-UAP.
Right, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, for anyone new to that.
Exactly. And this book, it's interesting. It isn't really trying to sell you on one idea. It says it's dedicated to the curious, to people who look up and ask questions, not just feel fear. And, well, maybe to those who already suspect we're not alone.
So our goal today, just to be clear, isn't about handing out answers. We don't have them.
No definitive ones anyway.
It's more about exploring the questions these stories raise. They're very human stories, often pretty unsettling. The authors call the book a record, a tribute, and a warning, all based, they say, on real testimony.
Yeah, that introduction really sets the tone, doesn't it? This idea of courage over proof. And Unidad ALFA-UAP, they're very clear. These aren't neat, solved cases.
Yeah.
They call them open wounds left behind by the inexplicable. You feel the fear, the confusion, sometimes awe, but always this sense of something is happening.
An undeniable truth, they say. It's less about, UFOs in the classic sense and more about the human impact, the raw experience.
Precisely. And these are stories from ordinary people. The book mentions them being told with trembling voices and memories that refuse to fade. That human element is front and center.
It really is. And there's that line, too, from that shadow investigator figure mentioned early on.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
They are here. They always have been. And they are not done watching.
Oof. Yeah. That definitely casts a shadow, doesn't it?
It really does. Changes how you think about just looking up. Makes it feel much closer.
Right. So, okay, let's get into some of these accounts. First up, encounters in the air, silent observers, things changing shape, stuff that just doesn't fit our usual understanding of, well, anything that flies.
Okay, chapter 1. This is the sky over Quebradillas in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Picture this.
Yep.
Moonless night, super quiet. You're alone in this old house by the sea. And it's 1:43 a.m. They remember the exact time because a phone buzzed for no reason, which is weird in itself. And they see this light hovering over the ocean, just hanging there, like time stopped around it, didn't move. The sea below, totally still.
Wow. And what's really striking there, I think, is the combination. You've got the visual thing, right?
Yeah.
The light, but also these intense physical, psychological effects happening to the person.
Totally. It wasn't just seeing something. The air got heavy. They tasted metallic coffee. And that feeling, hair on my body stood up like I'd been kissed by invisible electricity.
Yeah, that invisible electricity. It's a powerful description.
Yeah.
It shows how these things can affect you physically, profoundly, without even making contact. And that sense of being watched.
By something not human.
Yeah. That's a recurring theme, that feeling. And the light, it didn't just hover, did it?
No. It suddenly shifted shape. It contracted, then expanded into a perfect triangle. Rose silently right over the house.
Silent ascent, changing shape.
Yeah.
Defies physics as we know it.
And then it disappeared, left behind a shattered coffee mug on the porch, just broke.
So a physical trace, something concrete but completely unexplained, adds another layer of mystery.
Definitely unnerving. Okay, so from that silent geometric shape, let's shift gears. Chapter 2, mile marker 317 in Texas. We're talking a trucker out on Highway 385, middle of the night, 3:12 a.m., another precise time.
Right, the trucker story.
Yeah, his routine drive, total normal until the radio just blasts static.
Yeah.
Dead.
Okay, electromagnetic interference. That's a classic sign in many UAP reports.
Exactly. Then he sees it in his rearview mirror, a floating orb. Like a flashlight beam, but just hovering there, maybe 15 feet off the ground.
An orb. Okay,
Yeah.
it interacted with him.
Yeah, that's the key thing here, I think. The intelligence behind it. It perfectly matched his speed. He turned off his headlights, could still see it plain as day.
So it wasn't just reflecting his lights, it was self-luminous and seemed aware.
Aware, yeah. And then it gets weirder. It's split into 5 smaller lights. And they started spiraling around each other. He said it was like they were playing or analyzing.
Analyzing,
Yeah.
that word again,
Yeah.
suggests purpose, observation, maybe even data gathering, not just a random light.
Right. And while this is happening, his engine starts sputtering. But then he grabs his crucifix, interesting detail, and the radio clears up.
Huh. The crucifix correlation is interesting. Could be coincidence, could be psychological, or something else. Hard to say.
And as soon as the radio cleared, the lights just vanished. His words were vanished, not flew away. Just ceased.
Ceased to be. That's a really chilling distinction, isn't it? Like flicking a switch. It implies a technology or reality manipulation far beyond simple propulsion. We see that sudden disappearance pattern in other counts, too.
Yeah, ceased to be. Gives me chills. And that electromagnetic interference you mentioned, the radio static, the engine trouble, that's pretty common in these close encounters.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the few consistent, measurable physical effects reported across decades of sightings, from civilian accounts to military ones. It strongly suggests a technology interacting with and often disrupting our own.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've been in the air. Let's go deeper, literally, into the water.
Yeah.
These next accounts, they really push the boundaries.
The oceanic encounters are often some of the strangest.
Chapter 3, the thing that came out of the water. This is Isabela, Puerto Rico, Shobos Beach, a special place for the witness. Until one night, just after 2 a.m., they see this figure rising silently out of the water.
Rising, not swimming.
No, not swimming, not human. It was standing upright, gliding forward without disturbing the waves, like it was walking on the water almost, but effortlessly.
Gliding without disturbing the waves. That's physically bizarre. What did it look like?
Tall, slim, skin shimmering like fish scales, long arms, head tilted, unnaturally, didn't seem to breathe or blink, but the witness knew it saw them, felt seen.
That non-human description combined with the apparent awareness.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
It raised a hand, pointed towards the sky, and the tide, the actual ocean tide, reversed direction, just for a second.
Whoa! Reverse the tide. That implies an ability to influence major natural forces.
That's extraordinary, if true. It challenges everything we think we know about biology and physics.
Right. Then it just slid back into the ocean and was gone.
Like something out of mythology, but reported as a direct personal experience. Deeply strange.
Totally. And sticking with the water theme, Chapter 5, The Light Beneath the Sea. This time, Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico. A diver doing a routine coral check, 70 feet down.
Okay, a diver, so underwater. Yeah. Everything's normal. Then suddenly, this light, from beneath the seabed, white-blue, pulsating, coming out of a crack in the reef.
Beneath the seabed, not just on it.
Beneath it. Definitely not bioluminescence, not any equipment they knew. It felt different.
Okay, that suggests something hidden, maybe infrastructure or just unknown phenomena deep down. What else happened?
Radio failed instantly. Then this low-frequency tone started, vibrating right through their body, even, they said, through their thoughts. Felt like being scanned.
That scanned feeling again. We heard that with the light over Quebradillas too, implicitly. And the low-frequency tone suggests a deliberate emission, maybe part of the scanning.
Maybe. Then things get hazy. They remember seeing a shadow move nearby, long and fluid. Next thing, they blacked out, woke up back on the boat.
Woke up on the boat. How?
No idea. Their gear was gone, watch was gone. And they had this thin burn mark on their wrists, shaped like a circle inside a triangle.
A specific mark. Like branding almost.
Yeah.
And missing gear, missing time. How much time?
Lost 12 minutes. And later, developed a rash near the burn that glowed faintly under black light.
Okay, so definite physical evidence. The burn, the rash, the missing time, the feeling of being scanned.
Yeah.
It points to a direct, invasive interaction, not just a sighting. It really makes you wonder what's down there, hidden in the deep ocean.
It really does. Now let's switch contexts again. Chapter 6, Desecchio Protocol. Off Isla de Desecchio, also Puerto Rico. This isn't a civilian story, it's military.
Right. The military angle often brings in different elements, corroboration, tech data, but also secrecy.
Exactly. So 3.08 a.m., joint training exercise. They pick up this massive heat signature on their sensors, rising fast from the ocean floor a couple kilometers off the island.
Rising from the floor. A USO, unidentified submerged object, becoming a UAP.
Precisely. And it surfaced. But listen to this. No splash, no wake, just appeared. A huge black disk, maybe 50 meters wide, hovering inches above the water.
No splash, no wake. That implies some kind of energy field or propulsion that displaces water incredibly smoothly. Or maybe isn't fully interacting with it in our normal physical sense.
Yeah. Could be. And instantly, all their systems went haywire. Radio's dead silent, compass spinning wildly. One guy even got a spontaneous nosebleed.
The trifecta.
Yeah.
EM interference, physiological effects, and the object itself. That's consistent with high strangeness military encounters. What did the craft look like up close?
No seams, no lights, just this dark, reflective surface. But it shimmered, the witness said, like it was only half in our reality.
Only half in our reality.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating description.
Yes.
Suggests maybe interdimensional aspects or some kind of cloaking or phasing technology.
Yeah,
And then
just vanished. Straight up into the sky, gone.
instant acceleration, no sound barrier boom, presumably.
None mentioned, just gone. And the aftermath, immediate classification, recordings demanded, threats issued to the witnesses, total lockdown.
Right. And that immediate severe classification response is telling, isn't it? It suggests this wasn't the first time. It points to established protocols, a level of official awareness and concern that goes way beyond what's publicly acknowledged.
Yeah, the DeSecchio Protocol title itself hints at that, doesn't it? Like, this is a known procedure for these events.
Exactly. Okay, so we've seen aerial objects, underwater entities, military encounters, but some stories mess with your head even more directly. Disorientation, lost time, reality itself seeming to warp.
Yeah, let's get into that. Chapter 4, Voices in the Fog at El Yunque. Back to Puerto Rico, the rainforest. Friends hiking late around 2 a.m.
El Yunque, known for its dense forest and mists.
Well, this fog was different, rolled in super fast, no warning. Described as heavier, wet with silence, like the normal forest sounds just got swallowed.
Environmental manipulation.
Yeah.
Creating a specific isolated zone. That's creepy.
Then they heard whispers. Not one voice, a chorus. Speaking some unknown language, all layered together, and the fog itself seemed to pulse with the sound.
Pulsing fog, unknown language, sensory overload and disorientation. What did they see?
The trail vanished, just gone, and they saw these silhouettes. Tall, thin, gliding between the trees, with bright slits where eyes should be.
Tall, thin silhouettes. That description pops up a lot in high strangeness cases. The gliding movement, too. And then
The fog just receded, vanished as quickly as it came, and they found themselves back at the park entrance, miles from where they thought they were.
okay, so dislocation and the time.
They checked their watches. They felt like they'd been gone maybe half an hour, but 3 full hours had passed. And the sun was already coming up.
3 hours gone. Classic missing time scenario, coupled with spatial dislocation and encountering these entities. It's like they were pulled out of normal reality for that period.
Pulled out, yeah. And speaking of time going weird, Chapter 10, I never made it back. Guayama, Puerto Rico. This woman, Eli, walking home, familiar path, does it all the time. But suddenly, things felt off.
That feeling of offness often precedes these events, like a subtle shift in reality.
Right? And then she blinked. Just a normal blink, and suddenly she was somewhere else entirely.
Somewhere else. Like teleported.
Seemed like it. Different streets, signs she couldn't read, her phone had no signal, dead. And the time on her phone, frozen at 3:12 a.m.
Whoa. Frozen time, unfamiliar location,
Yeah.
total disorientation. Did you see anything?
Yeah. A figure, call, still, glowing faintly. It raised its hand towards her.
Another tall figure, glowing. Raising its hand seems communicative. Or maybe a warning.
Who knows? She freaked out, obviously, ran, blinked again, and bam, she was right back in front of her own house.
Back instantly.
Instantly, her phone started buzzing right away. She looked, it was 3:13 a.m.
Wait, frozen at 3:09:12, now it's 3:29?
Oh,
Only
swear.
1 minute passed on her phone.
Yep. But she felt like she'd been gone for an hour. Walking that strange street, seeing the figure running, it felt like an hour squeezed into 60 seconds.
That's an incredible temporal distortion.
Yeah.
Minutes feeling like hours, or in the El Yunque case, hours vanishing. It really suggests these encounters might involve stepping outside our normal flow of time or into a place where time just works differently, a profound break from consensus reality.
Total breaks your brain trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's not just time or space, but physical marks left behind. Chapter 9, The Mark on the Mountain, Utuado, Puerto Rico.
Ah, yes, the Utuado symbol.
Hikers find this symbol etched onto a sheer rock face, halfway up a cliff, not carved, not painted, burned in, with heat. The rock was blackened in these perfect lines, forming a spiral with 3 dots.
Burned into sheer rock. That implies focused, intense energy. What did investigators find?
Geologists checked it out, confirmed, definitely not made with any known tools. Signs of intense heat, yeah, but the rock hadn't melted, just scorched in precise patterns.
Precise heat application without melting suggests a technology we don't possess, like a laser, but maybe something else entirely. Did it affect anyone?
Yes, one of the hikers, Louis. After finding the mark, he started getting nosebleeds, bad ones, then vivid nightmares.
Nightmares? About what?
Tall figures again, standing by his bed, whispering backwards, and his dog suddenly refused to go into his room, became terrified of it.
Physiological effects, psychological impact, even animals reacting. That points to a lingering influence.
Yeah.
What happened to Louis?
He vanished, went hiking solo on that same mountain a few weeks later. They found his gear neatly packed, but no sign of him, ever.
Vanished without a trace. That's deeply disturbing. And the mark.
Get this, there was a landslide later that should have buried that section of cliff. But hikers reported seeing the exact same mark reappeared on the newly exposed rock face afterwards.
It reappeared, as if the event imprinted itself on the location or was deliberately renewed. That's persistent. It links the unknown technology of the mark directly to the profound personal impact, the disappearance. A chilling connection.
Truly chilling. Okay, so we've had direct encounters, time weirdness, physical traces. Now let's touch on things that feel more like subtle infiltration. Unseen presences making themselves known in quieter, but maybe even creepier ways.
Right, moving beyond the overt sightings into territory that feels more invasive psychologically.
Chapter 11, The Night Silence Fell. Barranquitas, Puerto Rico. This woman, Rosa, lives in the hills, used to the constant chorus of coqui frogs and insects at night.
The sound of nature in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
One night, it just stopped abruptly. Everything went dead silent. An unnatural, complete silence.
Like the fog in El Yunque, another localized environmental manipulation, taking away sound instead of adding fog. What did she see?
The whole valley lit up with this soft blue glow. Not a flash like lightning, but a dome of light covering everything.
A dome of light. Containing the silence, maybe.
Maybe. And inside the silent dome, she saw them. 5 figures. Tall. Thin. Walking slowly up the hill towards her area, moving in perfect unison, like one mind.
5 figures, tall and thin again, moving with hive mind coordination. Did they react to her?
She felt frozen, couldn't scream or move. They walked up, paused, seemed to turn and look directly at her house for a moment. Then they just disappeared. And instantly, all the night sounds came rushing back, normal again.
That momentary focus on her house is interesting. Observation, acknowledgement, and the instant return to normal, like flipping a switch on that reality bubble. Controlled and precise.
Very controlled. And communication. It doesn't always involve seeing things. Chapter 12, Radio Frequencies. A ham radio operator named Carlos.
Okay, ham radio, picking up signals.
He picked up this weird, repeating tone one night, something he'd never heard. Then, mixed in with it, this distorted, hollow-sounding voice.
A voice on the frequency. Speaking what?
Gibberish at first, but he recorded it, played it backwards. It was English, clear as day, but backwards. It said, "We are near."
We are near. Played backwards through a ham radio. That is incredibly creepy. Did anything else happen?
While he was listening, his lights flickered, his dog went nuts, barking at nothing. Standard interference stuff, maybe. But here's the kicker.
Okay.
The voice kept coming through. Even after he unplugged the radio speaker, he could still hear it faintly. We are near.
Through an unplugged speaker. That defies explanation. That's not radio waves anymore. That's something else intruding directly into his environment, maybe even his perception.
He freaked out, burned the tapes, but he says the radio still clicks on by itself every night at 3:07 a.m., plays that same tone, whispers that same message.
A persistent, targeted message. Infiltrating his technology, his home, his life. That moves way beyond a simple sighting into psychological territory.
Definitely. And the infiltration can get even more personal, more reality-bending. Chapter 14, Through the Mirror. This woman, Andrea, didn't believe in any of this stuff, a total skeptic.
Okay, so starting from a position of disbelief.
One day she's looking in the bathroom mirror, and her reflection smiled. But she wasn't smiling.
Whoa, the reflection acting independently, that's like something from a horror movie.
Right. Then it blinked, but out of sync with her own blinks. She got scared, stepped back from the mirror, and the reflection didn't step back with her. It stayed there.
It stayed. Okay, that's not just unsettling. That fundamentally breaks the laws of physics as we understand reflection. What happened next?
The mirror cracked. Not shattered, like from an impact. It cracked in a perfect circle, right in the center.
A perfect circle crack, like the burn mark, a specific non-random pattern.
Exactly. And she found every single mirror in her house then had that same circular crack.
Every mirror, simultaneously.
Apparently. She replaced them all, obviously. But she says sometimes, even now, she swears she sees her reflection looking back at her and smiling when she isn't.
That is deeply disturbing. It's an intrusion into the most personal space, your own image, your sense of self. It suggests these phenomena, whatever they are, might be able to interact with or manipulate our very perception of reality, turning the familiar profoundly alien.
Yeah, the ultimate psychological invasion, almost. And one more quick one on shared experiences, Chapter 13, The Twins' Dream.
Ah, the twins, Lena and Sarah. lived hours apart, right?
Yeah, hours apart. But one night, they both woke up screaming at the exact same time from the exact same terrifyingly vivid dream.
The exact same dream. What was it?
A white room, blindingly bright lights, a low, constant humming sound, shadows moving just out of sight, lying on a cold metal table, and a voice inside their heads asking them questions but without using words. Telepathic interrogation, maybe?
That cluster of details, white room, lights, hum, table, nonverbal communication, that's classic abduction scenario imagery. Even though they didn't describe seeing aliens directly, did they believe in this stuff before?
No, neither of them did, but afterwards, both started suffering insomnia, getting nosebleeds, and experiencing weird electrical interference around their phones and watches. Just like Luis with the mountain mark.
Shared physical after effects. Despite the distance, that strongly suggests a genuine shared external experience, not just a coincidental nightmare. Is the dream still happening?
They say it persists, it keeps coming back, and the voice asking questions, it feels like it's getting closer.
Getting closer. That implies an ongoing connection, an interaction that isn't finished. A truly disturbing thought, especially shared between twins.
Absolutely. Which brings us really to the chilling final piece of this puzzle, the conclusion of these accounts. Chapter 15.
Right, Witness 303.
This figure, Witness 303, an ex-intelligence contractor, supposedly, handled the really weird stuff, the cases the official military channels wouldn't touch.
Okay, someone from the inside but off the books.
He seems calm, rational, has this notebook full of sketches, maps, coordinates, says he's seen it all, craft rising from the ocean, silent flight, instant vanishing acts. Stuff we've heard in these other stories.
So corroborating the phenomena from an intelligence perspective. But what really stood out about his testimony?
It was when he was asked what scares him the most after everything he's seen. His calm demeanor just cracked. His voice trembled, and he said, "The eyes."
The eyes. Not the ships, not the technology. The eyes. What did he mean?
He claimed they're everywhere now, that the craft, the spectacular sightings, they're almost secondary, that they don't need ships anymore because they learned how to blend in.
Blend in, learn how to be inconspicuous. That takes the phenomena from out there to right here. What are the implications of that?
Well, that's the terrifying part. If these accounts hold any water, and if this intelligence perspective is accurate, it shifts everything. It suggests a presence that might be deeply integrated into our world, observing us not from afar, but from up close, pervasively.
So the narrative evolves from sightings of objects to the potential presence of observers, hidden observers.
Yeah.
Did he elaborate on where they might be observing from?
He did. He handed the interviewer a page torn from his notebook. It just had a list of 4 things: train stations, hospitals, airports, playgrounds.
Everyday places.
Yeah.
Public spaces where people congregate.
Exactly. And at the bottom of the page, underlined 3 times, was one word: watching.
Watching?
Then he just walked away. Vanish. Never seen or heard from again.
Wow. That is a deeply chilling endpoint. The idea of the eyes being everywhere, that they've learned to blend in, potentially observing us in the most mundane locations. It transforms the entire UAP phenomenon from something external to something potentially internal to our society.
Right. And think about the book's dedication again. It asks us to look to the sky, not with fear, but with questions, which sounds nice and hopeful. But after hearing Witness 303 and all these other accounts, that idea of just looking up feels insufficient, almost naive, especially if they aren't just up there, but potentially right next to you at the airport or the hospital or the playground.
It fundamentally changes the nature of the question, doesn't it? It's not just, are we alone, but how close are they, and can we even tell?
So let's wrap this up. We've journeyed through these 15 accounts, from lights in the darkness, from silent lights in the sky and strange things in the ocean, to missing time, physical marks, and this final disturbing idea of a pervasive hidden presence.
And remember, the authors present these as true accounts. They state the book doesn't aim to convince, only to remind us of the edges of our reality, perhaps.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? The authors say, even if you haven't seen anything like this, the sky is still watching. Fair enough. But you take Witness 303's list: train stations, hospitals, airports, playgrounds, watching. If they have learned to blend in, if they are everywhere, is it just the sky watching? Or is it something or someone much, much closer?
And that leads to the final question, really. When that line between the observer and the observed gets blurry, when the unknown isn't just a distant light, but potentially an intimate presence, how did that change our understanding of ourselves? of our place in this reality.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe the biggest mysteries aren't just out there in the cosmos. Maybe they're right here, walking among us, watching. Keep asking those questions. The mystery, it seems, is far from over, and maybe it's closer than we ever imagined.